Hello, everyone. They're trickling in. We will get started in about 3 minutes. Anything you want them to have, Denise, for the early birds?
No, other than I'm so glad. So I had a dentist appointment at 8 o'clock this morning and they had to do like a deep clean. So the dentist was like, we need to numb the bottom part of your gums because they had to go like under the gums to clean it. And for some reason, when you go to the dentist, they can't do both sides at a time because they numb it with that needle. And so after my appointment, it was like 9:30 when I got to the office. My entire right side of my mouth was numb. Like I had drool coming down and I was like, oh my God, I have a webinar that I have to host at 12 o'clock. And it's like finally going away. But my like,
You like accidentally bite your lip and tongue at times.
oh yeah, yeah, the inside of my, so anyways, I was gonna call you, I was gonna FaceTime you like, oh my gosh, the right side of my face is swollen and I've got drool and we're gonna show up anyways because that's how we roll. But he said it should go away by then. We're all good. So I could
gave me flashbacks to when we did sales mastery virtually. We flew to Vegas, Todd's condo, and you called me at 2 a.m. and you look like Will Smith from Hitch with swollen because you had pink eye. And I was like,
I think that was the worst experience of my life.
that was, I was like, you don't look very good. And your nose was like dripping the entire time. I was like, are you okay?
Okay, so just to give you guys perspective, okay, Todd Duncan, like the Tom Ferry of real estate, ask us to do sales mastery. You never say no, right? We get on the air. First, we go to the airport and we eat McDonald's. I've eaten McDonald's a million times. Don't shame me, but all I had was chicken nuggets. We get on the airplane.
What are you talking about?
The plane starts to land and I'm like sweating. The flight was hot. I don't think the AC was working. And I'm like, Deborah, I think I'm gonna throw up.
She's sitting in the row behind me and it's like boop boop. And I look and I'm like, I thought she was kidding.
I was like, I think I'm gonna throw up on the plane. Like I've never used a barf bag on a plane.
Yeah.
And sure enough, yep, I had to pull one of those baggies out and literally barf. Can we get anybody in the comments to just bare your soul with me? Have you ever had to barf in one of those barf bags? But we're on the way to the Vegas. I barf in the bag. We get in the
She
Uber
has
to
to
get
like
to the
walk
hotel.
off with the like bag of shame where I'm like, I'm so embarrassed. You look like me. Get your shit together. She's like doopy doo walking with the little barf bag. I'm like, gross.
Oh, it was so disgusting. But Deborah, remember we got in the Uber, like you get the bags, we got in the Uber, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm still not feeling good. Like, I don't ever get like this, y'all. We get to the hotel, Deborah's checking us in, and I'm standing in the lobby by the trash can because I literally feel so bad. I threw up again in the lobby of Vegas, which for most people, like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're in Vegas. There's crazier stuff that's happening, but I was like, I'm dying. Hang on, it gets better.
I thought she was pregnant. I was like, maybe she's pregnant.
Yeah, not pregnant. But so then I think it was like 3 or 4 o'clock at night. I get into the hotel room and I'm like, oh my God, I have to get better before tomorrow. Like tomorrow's the day, lights, camera, action, you have to be on. And I wake up, this is not a joke. This is my real life. I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, why does it feel like I have pink eye? Y'all, my eye had pink eye. I had droopiness coming out of like eye boogers coming out of my eye. I'm in Vegas. I can't go to a care now. I don't even have a
They
car.
hired a makeup artist. Like, we're supposed to arrive in the morning with no makeup because they have an artist coming in. And I'm like, I am not going after you. I don't know what you're going to do about
So
this.
I go in there and I act like I feel like crap. I still feel sick. I don't know why. And now I've got pink eye and I have to be on point. And I have a tissue in my hand the whole time with Todd. We're in his place in Vegas. And every 2 seconds I'm going like this because I have literal disgusting gunk coming out of my eyeball. So you know what? That is a story that was filmed and sent out to like thousands of people. And I bet none of y'all even knew. And so it just goes to show you that what we see on camera, other people don't even see. Y'all didn't even know that my nose was dripping, my eye was dripping, I had no sleep, and I was vomiting the whole day before. So that's my story for y'all. Does anybody else have anything crazy?
Thank
I'm
God.
glad that I'm not the only one that's thrown up on the plane. Oh my God, the airplane attendant took the bag, Susan. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Maybe I'll start a barf bag flight club. If you've ever barfed, the logo will just be like a little bag and it'll just be like, join the club.
I don't want to join that club.
Yeah, it's not fantastic. All right, let's kick it off.
Yes. Okay, so it is officially as of the end of this week. It's not only the end of Q2, but it's the official halftime of the year. So Denise and I were talking about kind of topics and ideas based off of questions that she and I both get from you guys. And it sounds like there were quite a few of you who were unsure how to really measure your progress. I know we've talked about metrics to measure, but like how to reflect and then know what to refine to improve for the next quarter so that you can either catch up and reach your goals or maybe just double down on the things that are working for you and how to identify what those are. So when I was talking about this with Denise, she was like, this is what I do all day, every day with the 60 loan officers that I help for her region. So Denise, anything you want to add to that for the framing of today's call before we dive in?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where very rarely as loan officers do we pause and evaluate our performance. I feel like we wake up and it's almost like Groundhog Day every day. It's another day, it's another month, everything starts over. And we don't really take the time to slow down and judge and scoreboard our performance and get really real with ourselves. And we have to do that. And to be honest with you, before I joined Benchmark, we didn't have at the company level really great reporting. And I had coaches in the past that was like, you need to know your conversion numbers. And I'm like, but there's just not an easy way for me to get those. And so I dismissed it a lot of times because it wasn't easy and it would be so time consuming to actually pull the data. But I will say, over a decade later of me dismissing it, now having it, thankfully we have really good reporting here where we can see like number of credit pulls that you pulled either by the quarter or year to date, and how many of those credit pulls were below a 600. And then who are your top referral sources? So I'm going to show you guys a little bit of what that kind of stuff looks like of gathering it. If you guys have CRMs that can do that reporting, fantastic. If you don't and you operate with Encompass, you can still download a report and Encompass. It's not going to be a lead to closing measurement, but it could still be a credit pull to funding measurement, which is still really extremely valuable. But we're going to be talking about what data you should be looking at, how you should be measuring yourself with it. And then I'm going to set up, here's what we're doing for Q3, me and the loan officers here. This is the roadmap that we're going to follow. And what I learned by holding loan officers accountable. It's funny because I used to always say I never saw myself as like a manager of loan officers because I had a belief that like managing people was gross, or I guess I felt like micromanaging people is gross. And what I've learned is that there's a big difference in managing people and holding them accountable to be their best self. And I feel like that a good leader will ask you what your goals are, like your goals, not my goals, Deborah's goals, your manager's goals, but what are your funding goals? And then what can I do to help hold you accountable so you can reach the goals that you said you wanted to reach? And that's my job. That's all I do is help them with it. So I was going to share with you guys what we're doing for Q3 and what we've mapped out. Because when you have a plan, it's a lot easier to execute the plan than just winging it. And what I have learned in a lot of the conversations is a lot of us just don't have a plan. Like simply, if this is what I'm going to do every day, or this is how I'm going to court a realtor, or this is my playbook. So anything that you would add, Deborah?
I did put in the chat that for any of you who are struggling with something in particular or have a question, since you have both of us on right now, please put your questions in the chat and we will make sure to address them by the end of the call. And then also I'd love to know, there's over 100 of you on, so just drop a yes or no, and you can do it to the host only if you'd like. How many of you have a business plan? Just put yes. And if you don't have a business plan, put no. And there's no shame, there's no judgment. It's okay if you're winging it. We're going to address those things today, but we need to know how many of you do or don't, so then we can tailor today's call around the masses. Ooh, is that a spark?
Yeah.
Nice.
You know what? I would argue that even some of those that do, I don't want you to dismiss what we're going to be talking about today, because I want to dissect your business plan. And is the plans what you've been using for years? Have you changed the plan at all? A conversation I was having with our divisional president was, it's interesting to me that a lot of mortgage companies are still operating like the manufacturing process of loan officer, LOA, processor, underwriter, like that line, that manufacturing line. most lenders are still operating the same way that they have for decades, even though we've had such change in technology. Some of us, I know some of us are still working maybe at banks or credit unions, but where technology is today, that manufacturing process is very different. And so we're not going to go down that rabbit hole, but let's talk about evaluating Q2. Okay, so one of the things I would recommend doing is going into either your CRM or into your loan originating system software. Some of you guys are using Encompass, that's the most popular one. And I want you to extract a report just for Q2. So just for the last 16 weeks. And I want you to look to see how many credit pulls you had in those 16 weeks. If you didn't do this for Q1, then download it year to date, but separate Q1's credit pulls and Q2's credit pulls. Why do we do that? Because if we're going to be forecasting production and we're looking at them in chunks of Q1 and Q2, and what does Q1 look like next year, we look at it in quarters. But for the total number of credit pulls that you had in Q2, I want you to look at just those 3 months or those 16 weeks. And then I want you to divide that by a weekly average so that you know in Q2, on average, how many credit pulls a week did you have? So write that down. Then I want to know total in Q2, how many closings you had. I don't care about the volume. Volume is not as important to me as the units or families, because the units is what dictates your habits. So it dictates whether or not you need to add someone to your team, remove somebody from your team. So how many fundings per units did you have total in Q2? And then I want you to calculate what your year to date, so all year, what your conversion rate is from credit pulls to fundings. So here's how you do the math on calculating your conversion rate. Y'all let me know if you guys are ready for this. But so you take your
Is there any
total-
reason why you don't want Q1 versus Q2's conversion rate from credit pulls to fundings?
It's really tough to get a Q1 conversion rate. It's such limited data. It's 3 months. It's the start of the year. It's not we still collect it at the end of Q1, but the 6 months gives you a much better analysis of what your conversion rate is. Okay, so your conversion rate is, you take the total number of closed units divided by the total number of credit pulls. Then take your monthly fundings goal. I'm sorry, let me stop. That's your conversion rate. So does anybody know what their conversion rate is? If you do, drop it in the chat. From credit pull, not from lead, from credit pull to funding. Yeah, 30%. It should be around 28 to 30%.
Really?
From credit pull. So if your conversion rate is around, let's just call it 30%, I would say average is anywhere between 25 to 30%. So Brian says he's got 45%. That's fantastic. I've got a person on my team, this isn't to discredit Brian, but I've got a person on my team that's over 50%, but how they determine who they pull credit on is stricter than what my requirements are, which is why their number looks better than mine.
Are you talking about hard credit pulls or soft?
So Kara and Molly said 18% and 20%. All that means, Kara and Molly, if I was your coach, is that we need to look at what your buyer consult looks like and what your process looks like from when you get a credit pull to when you're presenting options to the client. That's where we think there might be a kink in your process, because you might not need more clients. We just need to be able to convert more of them. And there's a kink in that part of the process. How are you acknowledging receipt of the application? How are you pre-approving them? Are they accurate pre-approvals? Are we squeezing out as much variable income, overtime income, self-employed income that we can? Are you presenting it in a way that's clear and concise to the consumer? Maybe you're talking about interest rates too in depth.
It could also be you have a referral source who's sending you people with bad credit. So there's a lot of credit pulls, but these people don't actually qualify.
Yeah. Brian said he quit doing soft credit pulls. That's for a topic of another discussion. 18.6. So here's what's great about this. That is a metric you need to know, because if you are below 25%, we need to do an analysis of the upfront part of your business. Like Deborah said, referral sources, presentation skills, pre-qual skills. I have some loan originators that are like, I pre-qual people and they just can't afford what they want to buy. But that's a nationwide problem. And there are other people on this call that are still getting 28, 30, 45%. And we all have an affordability problem. So that's where the humbling and the getting real and the leader of me holding you accountable because I genuinely care about you is You've got a kink in that hose and you got to get real with yourself before it's going to get better. But it's a metric you need to know. What does your conversion rate mean? If your conversion rate is 30%, what does that actually mean for you? Let's say your goal is to get 4 closings a month. How many credit pulls would you need at a 30% conversion? You take the goal of your 4 fundings, so 4 divided by your conversion rate is 13. It means you need 13 credit pulls in order to get the total number of fundings that you need. Now, guess what? That's not going to happen in your first 30 days. It's probably going to start taking place realistically after 60, 90, 120, depends on other variables. But you need to know how many credit pulls you need to have in order to get to your funding goal. How many conversations do you need to have with partners, not clients, not CPAs, not financial advisors? Yes, Sally, I'll say it again. Okay, so let me back up because Sally's asked me to back up. So these are very important key KPIs that every loan originator needs in their business. So you know what? Maybe I'll drop this in the chat. I'll do that.
I was gonna say, I'm typing it right now.
Oh, so to find your conversion, take the total number of closed units, divide it by your credit pools. Just copy and paste this so Sally can have it. So you take the total number. Oh, that wasn't to everybody. I'm sorry. Hang on. Here we go. Here we go. It's right there in the chat for you. So to get your conversion number, you take the total number of closed units. This is your actual number for year to date. I want you to take a 6-month analysis. So your total number of families you helped, divide it by your credit pools. Then you're going to take your monthly funding goal. This is setting us up for Q3, and you're going to divide it by your credit pools. And that's at least giving you a metric of how many credit pools you need in order to get to your funding goal.
You mean your monthly funding goal divided by your conversion rate?
Yes, I'm sorry. So if your closing goal, 60% of loan originators last year helped 1 family a month. It was on average 12 for the year. So if we divide that by an annual, that's 1 family a month. Sometimes I talk to loan officers, they're averaging 1 a month and they say, my funding goal is 5. And I say to them, 5. That's a lofty goal. Like, I love that for you because I want you to be ambitious. But when you're setting goals, it can't be pie in the sky goals. It has to be like, when we're doing these quarterly micro goals, real attainable stuff, because this business is hard and we need some wins. I'm not saying lower your ambition, but I'm saying how realistic is it for you to go from 1 to 5 in the next 3 months? And that's where I just want you to check yourself a little bit. So let's say your monthly goal is 3. Let's do Kara, for example. So Kara's goal is 3 divided by 18%. So Kara needs 16 credit pulls to get to her funding goal. If you divide that by 4, just from a weekly standpoint, she needs 4.1 credit pulls a week. So what I want you to do is take a Post-it note and put it on your monitor. Not yet, because we're going to continue writing. 4 credit pulls a week. That's your goal. And at the end of every week, I want you to assess, did you win or lose the week? Did you get your 4 credit pulls? I don't care about your fundings. Fundings is what we cannot control. What we can control is the daily things that we have to do in order to get the small stuff to get to the big stuff, right? How many partners do you think you need to talk to in order to get 4 credit pulls a week? 3 times the number of credit pulls you need is the number of conversations you have to meet your goal. So I'm just using Kara as an example. That would mean I just literally typed in 4 times 3 in the calculator. That's the numbness must still be there. So Kara needs to have 12 conversations with partners. I'm not talking about past clients or financial advisors or CPAs, or I'm talking about real estate agents. The reason why I'm talking about real estate agents is because they're the #1 referral source that has the clients, the immediate client, the immediate avatar that we need as a loan originator, which is a home buyer. Yes, we can get leads from others, but I'm saying you need 3 times the conversations. And if your presentation skills or communication skills are not fantastic, which might be the case for Kara right now, we can get you there. You might need 4 times because your conversion rate is lower than normal. But what this tells us, and you're going to write this on your sticky note. So I need 4 credit pulls a week, which means I need 12 partner conversations a week. Did I say partner dials, partner attempts, or partner conversations? Partner conversations. Brian, I'm not discounting financial advisors and attorneys. I'm just talking about real estate agents right now. That's gravy to majority of people's primary book of business, especially when they're new. So now how many conversations you need to have? Here's my question to you guys. Let's pretend you have this data in front of you, or some of you guys already have this information. Put in the chat, yes or no. Did you hit your funding goal just for Q2? Yes or no? Good job, Melissa. No. Okay. Okay. Here's what's really cool. If you're busy, if you met your goal, that's awesome. And I don't want to say you're blessed, because I hate when people are like, oh, you're so lucky. No, I'm not lucky. I worked my butt off for that. But good job. If you didn't hit your goal, I want this to be glaringly obvious that you're not alone. A lot of people didn't hit their goal for Q2. If now that you know what your weekly credit pool goal is, in the last 16 weeks only, do you think you hit your credit pool goal? The answer is probably no, because you didn't hit your funding goal, but I just want you guys to see the correlation between the two. You're not going to get to your funding goal without meeting your credit pool goal. Not at all. Okay. This is where I want a couple of you guys to be super open, honest, and vulnerable. I know it's just in the chat. We don't have a way to unmute them, do we?
No, because it's a webinar. I've thought about somehow making, if we could convert it to a meeting so we could.
Want you guys to take 1 or 2 minutes, journal this, write it in the chat, but I want to know, what do you think is preventing you from hitting your goal? Credit pool goal. Let's start with your credit pool goal, because that's where it all starts, right? What is preventing you from getting and hitting your credit pool goal?
Angela, not having one. I think a lot of people didn't necessarily have a target.
We're gonna get there. Major call reluctance with referral partners, freezing, not enough conversation, referral partners, me.
James.
Mm-hmm.
What in particular
Time
about
management, call reluctance. Hang on, just stay with me. I'm going down a path. For partners and not willing, lack of focus, shiny objects. Okay. Would you guys agree or disagree that of all the activities we could do as a loan originator, and there's a lot of them, I wish there was just one that we could do and that would be the magic bullet to success. There's not. It's an onion of activities. But would you agree that having enough conversations with partners is the most important activity that we should be doing daily or weekly to hit our credit pool goal and our funding goal? Yes. Yes.
say that one more time?
Would you agree that of all the activities we have to do, and Lord knows there's a bunch of them, would you agree that having enough conversations with partners is the number one to get to our credit pool goal? It's the number one, right? It's the number one thing, but here's the reality. A lot of us already know that. We have the knowledge of it. It's just, we know that if we drink water and if we go to the gym, we have the knowledge to know that's probably going to lead to a healthier lifestyle than eating Oreos and beer every night. We have the knowledge, but we're not doing it. And this is where you have to get real with yourself to say, but why am I not doing it? Some of you guys have already said, I have call reluctance, fear. And so here's what tends to happen. Some of you guys are at least honest and can self-admit that you've got fear and that reluctance. And again, some of you guys also did mention shiny balls, right? So the truth is, if you spent 60 minutes of your day, every day, Monday through Friday, and you spent 60 minutes of your day doing a power hour where you woke up in the day and you said, where can I find 60 minutes of my day? You block off that hour and you commit to calling your partners for 60 minutes a day. That's 4%. And if you committed to that for the next 16 weeks, doing the one single activity that all of you guys said, not me, you guys said it, is the most important thing, would you be a lot more likely to hit your credit pool goal and therefore your funding goal before we get to the fall, when it's going to get scary? It's going to get scary slow, super scary slow in the fall. The things that we do right now in Q3, how committed and how dedicated you are to those 60 minutes is going to determine potentially whether or not you stay in this career in the fall. That's just like super real talk. So we got to commit to 60 minutes a day. I'm going to talk about how, because I'm not a big believer in cold calls, but I'm going to talk about how we can do this. But a lot of us get distracted. We spend time on Canva creating stuff that we shouldn't be doing. We've got loan officers making these yard signs for 2-1 buy downs, and all that is avoidance. It's avoidance of you being busy doing anything else other than the one thing that you know you need to be doing every single day. So that's realness number one. Now, I want you to write down, if we were to just look at the last 16 weeks, what would you say you've been consistently doing as an activity. Drop it in the chat, write it down. What activity can you be honest about and say that you've been consistently doing for 16 weeks? Loan review reminders, birthday cards, calling listing agents, weekly updates, calling pre-approved, talking to buyers, creating content. Just started having last 2 weeks, video text. Okay. So everybody that answered, first of all, thank you. Second,
What is 50 V2V? Diana, what is that? I don't know what V2V is. Oh, voice to voice. Gotcha.
I'm saying posting on social media, creating graphics for social. Okay, so this is just for you guys. If I was sitting in your office and let's pretend that you logged this activity and I said, show me your calendar. Show me your calendar and let's actually look back of the last 16 weeks. Would you say 16 out of 16 weeks you were calling listing agents, posting on social media, writing the birthday cards, or is it like 11 out of 16 or 9 out of 16? I'm saying, is it 16 out of 16? Kara says for me in the last 4 weeks. Perfect. These are things I want to, I'm asking 16 weeks, but Bridget says 11 out of 16, 10 out of 16, 10 out of 16. Okay. Glenda, I like that. At least you're getting up to bat. So this is what's interesting about human behavior is that when I first ask, and for those of you that lead a team or have a team, or my initial question was, what have you been consistently doing for 16 weeks? And unless I dug deeper and asked you like, okay, but if you were logging it and I made you show me your calendar, would it actually show 16 out of 16? Now we got a little bit more honest answers, right? It was like 10 out of 16, 11 out of 16. Maybe there are some activities like Molly's saying, no matter what, she does her birthdays and her loan reviews. The truth is a lot of us are not hitting our credit pull goals, our funding goals, and it's simply because we're not consistent in anything. Not even just the single most important thing, but we haven't been consistent in anything. And so why do you think consistency is so hard? House blows up, get distracted, lack of discipline, not measuring. Does anybody think that it could potentially be because you don't have a plan? If you knew Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm going to call these people, these partners. And so when Monday rolls around, it's a lot easier to execute. Like the anniversaries and birthdays, it's easier to be consistent at those because you probably have some sort of report that says, okay, it's this person's birthday, call them. So the number one ingredient, for those of you who watched the interview that I did with Dave Savage, I think it was a week ago. If you didn't watch it, you should watch it. But it was my number one ingredient that loan officers are missing right now. And that ingredient is not the sexy thing that loan officers get asked to talk about on a stage at a conference or at a webinar. Someone mentioned that they were on Roland's webinar. I wasn't on for Roland's webinar. He just asked me to jump in for 30 days, but that's not what sells tickets to these conferences. I know it sounds horrible, but if I told you guys that, oh, the mortgage nerd is going to go talk at the Modern Mortgage Summit and she's going to talk about consistency, or this person's going to talk about video marketing on social media, which is sexier, but which is going to get you immediate results? Which should you actually do and which should you delegate? So we're already halfway through this year. You're not alone because a lot of loan officers aren't hitting their goal, but it's because they're not being consistent in the activities that they actually know where to be consistent at. And if we dig deeper, it's because they simply don't have a plan to execute those activities because figuring out the plan is hard. I'm going to show you the plan. I don't know if I've shown anybody the plan outside of Benchmark, but I'm going to show y'all. The Nerd and Bird group gets the plan.
I did see a few people saying giving up before we can see the results, not seeing immediate results.
Okay, while I am pulling up my roadmap, but I'm going to put this in the chat. This is what I asked the loan officers to complete for their homework for Q3, because when we show up to work on Monday, it's Q3. It's third quarter. And it's a weird week because next week, 4th of July is on a Thursday. So what do you think the average loan officer is going to do? They're going to take the week off because it's Thursday. They're going to be hungover on Friday. Wednesday's practically Friday Eve, holiday Eve. And so, you know what? It's an off week. Or the loan officers that are like, nope, I'm committed to 60 minutes a day of my power hour of doing the number one activity that I know is going to get the results. And I'm not going to disappoint myself, my spouse, or my family. And I'm going to stay committed to that 4% of my day. And I'm going to show up. Not for me, not for Deb, not for your manager, but for you. Show up. So
Someone raising their hand, can we go ahead and I can click allow to talk? It's Ann. Oh, looky there.
What? Oh,
We can do this. Let's see. And you can unmute and you can talk. Ann Young, maybe it was an accident that she did that.
oh my gosh. Okay, let's keep it moving. Okay, there we go. All right, so these are the things I want you to write down, that before you show up to work on Monday, I want you to have these goals written down. Knowing your goals, keeping them visible, keeping them in front is going to help you achieve your goal. So I want you to identify, based on actual reporting of what I just taught you, how many quality conversations do you need in 1 week with partners? Is it 10? Is it 13? Is it 16? And I want you to track it. So I have a nerd planner. You can actually buy this on my Nerd Academy website, but you can track your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and it's how many quality conversations you're having every single week of the year. So how many quality conversations do you need in a week? How many credit pulls do you need per week? What are your fundings? I'm gonna paste this in the chat. How many fundings do you want total in Q3? I want you to identify what your current conversion rate is. And I want you to take the weekend to think about what are you committing to do consistently each week to reach your goal in Q3. And if you need an accountability partner, you can email it to us, post it in the Facebook group. Because guess what? At the end of Q3, we're going to look at this. And we're going to evaluate. That's going to require you to track. Okay. So I want you to identify that. Now I'm going to go over with you guys what we're doing daily to have our conversation. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. Let me first show you. Deborah, you tell me when you can see the screen. It's loading. Okay. Close. All right. So this is what I mean by reporting.
Can't see it yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So every
There we
single
go.
quarter, we give our loan officers this kind of stuff where we can see, here's an example. I don't know if this loan officer cares. This referral partner has sent 16 leads. She's closed 7. So the conversion rate is really high with this agent. This Robin agent has done 3 credit pulls, but no closings. So one might think that Robin is a great referral source because she keeps you busy, but you're not closing business. So then I would want to go in and dissect the data and look at their credit, their average credit score. Are they sending you a bunch of junk leads? And so my point is, by showing this to you, is that, hang on, the next layer of dissecting your business is looking at who's sending you business, who's just keeping you busy but not closing loans, who are actually sending you business that you are closing loans. Because when some of you guys talk about being distracted, think about if you're at dinner with your spouse and you have Joe Realtor blowing your phone up because they need a pre-qual, but Joe has sent you 5 clients this year and none of them have closed. Is that someone that you should interrupt your dinner with your spouse with? Or maybe shoot them a text and say, hey, I'm at dinner, I can call you after. Not everyone should get the same level of priority or service from you as the other agent, like we just saw, where you've got a 70% conversion rate. Now, if that agent calls, I'm going to say, hey, babe, this agent's calling, so I'm going to step out for a second and take this. But if you don't know your numbers and you don't know who your top people are, and you're just going off of emotions of what you think, then really what you're doing is and if you've got a manager or whoever that you might be blaming isn't helping you, but how can we build a business plan out of, I think, metrics? Then I think you should do this. But thinking versus being able to have actual stuff like this is a game changer. It's the only way to be able to accelerate your trust and analyze the kinks, not your trust, accelerate your success and really identify where the kinks are to move you along the journey faster. At least that's what I would do if you were working with me. Like I could pull up Kara's stats and be like, okay, Kara, where are your leads coming from? Who are your top referral sources? Let's do some performance training. Let me see how you do PPC or buyer consults. Let's record them. Now let's watch them together every week until we make tweaks. And that's the kind of coaching you might need depending on where you're at. So those are the kind of metrics that you need to be looking at minimum every quarter.
So Denise asked, what lead tracker do you use? I'm assuming that's Be in Touch. Oh,
my CRM is Be in Touch, but this report.
So nothing for leads versus credit pulls?
No. If you were to actually analyze how many of your leads turn into credit pulls, it's so many that I could, but it's just it's not the top 3 metrics that I look at. And people are going to differ with that opinion. So take it for what you want. But all right, let's talk about preparing. We've got about 18 minutes. Yeah, Encompass lets you print anything. It's so awesome. And then we have AI technology within Encompass. Like we're big on tech. So like literally all this stuff gets done automatic for us. It gets emailed to us, and every single week or every single quarter, we can see like, here are your top referral sources, the conversion rate, your conversion rate. It's awesome. There's all kinds of stuff. This is my point, is technology is moving so fast. And in the next 2 years, what it's going to be able to do is literally insane, that I hope that your management company or your management people are not flat-footed with these changes, because if they are, it's like math. When you're learning math growing up, and you guys may have some kids who are struggling in math, like if you get behind in elementary school on math, it becomes a bigger and bigger and bigger problem as you get into high school and college. It's hard to catch up to like pre-cal when you still suck at like division. That's how I feel what's happening right now in the mortgage space. There are companies that are either excelling and really doing some cool things with tech. Like, I'm just gonna share one thing because it was really cool. I got to sit in at the front of our internal process when a client goes online and applies. Then at the end, there's gonna be confetti that pops up and a little like, thanks a latte for giving us all your information. Here's a QR code, coffee on us. And the confetti pops up, and it's such a user client experience. It's just really cool things that we can do. But so let's go back to, you have to have a plan. It is a lot easier to hit your goals if you have a plan, and then you can execute the plan. Some of the things that I'm going to share with you are, there's some tech that I'm referring to that you might not have, and that's okay. But I'm just being super authentic, and this is literally what we're doing for Q3. So hang on, let me share my screen. Sorry, hang on. All right, share screen. Don't want y'all to see all of it at once, but it is what it is. Okay, so keep your eye here on Friday. Every Friday, we time block for 60 minutes. This 60 minutes on Friday is our week prep time, because you have to define time in your calendar to prep who you're going to call for the next week. So Fridays is when we do that. We have 60 minutes. We're preparing who we're going to call, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. And then we're committed to sharing one wealth story a week on social. It's either on social, it's our value bomb emails, maybe it's in your past client newsletter. But a wealth story is, I helped this person who was renting at 1,400 square foot, and now they're buying a home, and the home's expected to appreciate 60 grand in the next 5 years. Or I helped this person's FICO score go from this to this, and it saved them this much money, which is this amount of interest over 10 years, whatever it is. It's a wealth story. If we're going to tell people that we help them build wealth with real estate, then you better be able to show it. If you didn't meet your conversation goals, if you needed 15 partner conversations and you didn't hit it, our discipline item is, you got to do open house crashing. If you go into an open house and you say, oh my gosh, I'm a lender, I was just in the neighborhood, I wanted to come by and introduce myself, that's a conversation. Hopefully you wow them. You get their business card and you add them to your database, and then we start dripping on them. But the open house crashing is if you didn't meet your goal for the week. You have to get conversations in. Some of the loan officers here prefer open house crashing because they do so much better in person than they do like over the phone. Pro tip, you will accelerate your success rate with that partner if you actually meet them in the flesh. It's harder to do in today's day and age. So open house crashing is a great way to do it. We'll answer your questions after this. On Mondays is when we dedicate 60 minutes to weekend stuff or offer stuff. So here's how I'm going to show you guys how I systematize this, because a lot of what we do can be systematized, which is just making us more efficient. So you guys, if I come here, you see where I have my inbox, and then I've got a folder that says Realtor Power Hour. And then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's because I didn't want the folders in alphabetical order. Mondays are my offers or open house. Tuesdays are my status update calls. Wednesdays are my realtor drips. So if I come in here, I have programmed in my CRM, when I have a listing agent or a new realtor, I have drips. Like this one says a 4-week. This is my 4-week follow-up to this agent. This is my 6-week follow-up. They were a listing agent on this deal, 4-week, 6-week, 4-week. So what happens is my CRM sends me these emails as reminders every 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks. I take the email from my inbox and I drag it into my Wednesday folder, because on Wednesdays, I make my realtor drip calls. On Thursdays, I make my HomeBot calls. So some of you guys might have HomeBot. We have a tech tool that none of us use. We use it. So what I do is on Thursdays, I call my people who are motivated to sell. And I call the real estate agents and I say, hey, agent, we utilize AI technology to monitor things like if clients are thinking of selling and this client popped up. It may or may not be accurate, but I wanted you to know. Do you think that makes me valuable as their partner? Of course. So you'll see Mondays are weekend stuff. Did somebody make an offer? I want to follow up with that listing agent and find out. Did they accept the offer? Why? Did they not accept it? Why? I want to call the buyer's agent. Hey, buyer's agent, why do you think it got accepted? Why did it not get accepted? Whatever. If you did any open house crashing, follow up with those people and say, hey, how did the open house crashing go? Tuesday is status update calls to partners and clients. If you're like, Denise, I don't have 60 minutes worth of pipeline update calls because I don't have any contracts, then call your title agents and ask them if you can co-host an event to show them how you're helping convert more buyers in today's market than ever. And we're going to show them the PPC or the buyer consult that we do. If you guys haven't seen that, I think I also have that on my website. I'm going to update it because I've modernized it a little bit. Wednesdays are the partner drip follow-ups. That's from my CRM. When anytime I have a loan that funds, I'm going to court that listing agent. Anytime I have an offer on a deal and there's a listing agent, they go into a new realtor bucket and it's a reminder to call them. A little subtle brag that if you join our company, you get my same playbook. So it's already done for you. But partner drip follow-up check-ins, maybe you want to do your client anniversary calls, birthdays, whatever. You don't necessarily have to call the person on their birthday if you don't want to be reactive. You can say, hey, I saw your birthday was last week. Did you do anything fun? Hey, I see your birthday's this Friday. What are you guys doing this weekend? Thursdays are my home bots to my clients and partners. Some of you guys might subscribe to list reports. So if you have partners that are creating marketing material, call them, just talk to them about the house. Agents love to talk about the house. Hey, I saw you got a listing coming live this weekend. I got a lot of buyers that I pre-qualify. Tell me about the home. Maybe I have a buyer that's going to get pre-qualified that'd be interested in. Redfin, this is Deborah's famous strategy. So if you're running out of agents to call, go to Redfin, use the filter. Deborah's got a video on this. What agents have had a recent price reduction? Prepare a buy down flyer, text it to them, and then call them or send a voice memo and say, hey, I made you a flyer for your property at 123 Main Street. I saw you just had a $15,000 price reduction. Give me a call. I want to talk through this with you because you can market it as a exclusive lending opportunity for 123 Main Street. Buy this home with a 5.5% rate. Make sure you always ask them, do you have any clients that are going out shopping this weekend that might need numbers? That way you can run numbers before it's the weekend. Friday is our week prep. Friday is our judgment day. Did you have enough conversations? If you didn't, you need to be researching what open houses you want to go to that weekend. And if you can commit to this for 60 minutes a day, knowing how many partner conversations you need, you're going to be a lot closer to hitting that credit pull goal and that funding goal than winging it, which is what most of you guys are probably doing, and you're finding yourself frustrated. There are people that have been in this business. We have a loan officer that closed 18 deals last month. 18, y'all. That's like top 5%. She's been in the business for 13 months. She doesn't even know how to really pre-qual, but she's consistent and disciplined in her daily activity. And when you can get really good at this, guess what you do? You teach real estate agents because they have the same discipline and consistency problem. And you teach them, in fact, you say, hey, you know what? Let's do a Zoom accountability partner call where every Monday from 11 to 12, we jump on Zoom, we mute ourselves, but it's our way of holding each other accountable. And let's make our calls so that they can see you and you can see them and you're not talking, it's on mute, but it's virtual accountability. We do it with our loan officers. And it's amazing what a little bit of accountability you get. It's amazing what ends up happening to results. Questions, comments?
Can you provide the link to your website? Are these random people or is it people you've worked with in the past and can send back to the same realtor?
Are you talking about HomeBot?
Kimberly, are you talking about HomeBot? Oh, where do you find Deborah's video on the Redfin strategy? Let me see if I can pull that up and I'll put it in the chat. I'm looking for that, Denise, if there's any other.
That's what I'm looking. Okay. Are these random people or people you've worked with in the past and can send back the same realtor? I'm guessing you mean HomeBot, and HomeBot are people that I have worked with. These are people I worked with. So what I do is I call the client and I just say, hey, it's been 3 years, 5 months, and 6 days since you bought your home in Frisco, Texas. Are you still liking it? I don't say, I'm not creepy and I'm not like, oh, I saw that you were looking. And then I call the real estate agent. I say, hey, real estate agent, this is a buyer that we helped, because maybe it's an agent that you don't work with. Hey, this is a buyer that we worked with. One of my commitments to my partners is that I'm always delivering value back to the agent. My goal is to be able to refer people back to you. One of the ways that we do that is through AI technology and monitoring the human behavior after closing. And we just got an alert that this client might be thinking of selling. Have you talked to them recently? And if anything, they're just like, oh my gosh, my lender doesn't do that. So
I'm gonna share my screen because I would have to search because it's unlisted on my channel. So all I did, guys, is I went to Redfin and then I'm gonna be on the buy tab, and let's just say I'm gonna put my zip code, and you'll see I can click filters. So these are all the homes available for sale. I'm gonna click filters, and I could go even granular, like maybe only on houses or townhomes, but I'm not gonna do that for now. Let's see. You're going to keep scrolling and you're going to click here, price reduced. So it's under the cost finance section. And we always do in the last 7 days because we do this once a week. And then I'm going to click C30. So there's 32 homes just in the last 7 days that have had price reductions. So this is how you can then strategically go after the listing agents on these properties who've had the recent reductions.
So some of you guys are asking, like, I don't want to make cold calls. That's not a cold call. You have a mutual, Deborah's teaching a class in September that Phil Jones exactly what to say. So some of you guys have some communication skills that you might need some training on. And that's what her course teaches. Her and Todd Bookspan, they're coming in Plano talking about it. Any kind of introduction, you need a mutual agreeable fact. And hey, this is Kara. I'm a local lender. I saw you have a house at 123 Main Street that just had a price reduction. Was it 15,000? Get a response. Yes. Okay, great. We have an exclusive program that you could market something like, and I can show y'all what we do. Buy this home with a 5.5% interest rate and save $800 a month. If you're interested, let's start a combo. Now, can they actually get 5.5%? I don't know. In the fine print, it says this is not a rate quote or a commitment to lend, but it's an attractive way to show up for your partner that might be having a hard time selling the home. And guess what? It's different than what another loan officer is doing. The point in what we're trying to show you guys is you're showing up different. Here's how most loan officers, so we've been doing this, and a lot of loan officers had stinking thinking thoughts, that's what I call it, of realtors don't want lenders calling them. I don't want to bug them. They're so busy. I bet loan officers call them all the time. Here's the number one thing we heard. Number one, if you're calling them to bug them or be a salesman, yeah, they don't want to talk to you. If you're calling them to offer them something of value, they'd be happy to take your call. Majority of listing agents say that they don't get called by lenders. Here is proof. This was a text, maybe it was in my Teams. So sometimes we think that they don't want to hear from us, but they do as long as it's valuable. Here's what this loan officer on my team, this is dated today at 9:59 a.m. Okay, so this is just proof. If you don't do anything else with these power hour calls that we're supposed to make, call the dang listing agent. I had a closing yesterday, so I reached out to that listing agent. We just got off of a 45-minute call, which she just kept asking questions of situations she had. We ended the call and she said, I feel like I've learned so much from you in this one call that I've had in my last 10 years. But she did say that she has another lender, insert the name at this company. She said he is good, but said his communication is not the best. She said, the reason I took your call is because you sent a text message the moment you got the contract and all throughout the process, and even now at funding. Then you updated me every step and told me we were good with the appraisal and everything else. The loan officer said, we all know that this is the system and the playbook that Denise built, which I'm so blessed to have these tools that Denise designed for us and other loan officers that they don't have. Call. You also, remember I said at the very beginning, it's not like it's the magic bullet activity that's going to get you all these fundings. There's a lot of activities that we have to do. One of the activities is we have a state-of-the-art CRM that is playful and humanized and not boring and robotic. Like, it's fun and agents like it and clients like it and it's memorable. It's like the Walt Disney world of playbooks. So that helps. It's why the agent answered the phone. But her discipline is I call at every offer. I call it the listing agent at every offer. I call the listing agent every week for status updates. I call it funding. and she helped 8 families last month. She's been in the business for 2 years. So you just have to you have to consistently be disciplined, consistently have someone that can hold you accountable, have someone that can do performance tests to review things like your conversations, your consults, presentation skills. These are the things you need to be doing in Q3.
Yes, very good. All right, guys, we will put the recording on the Nerd and Bird YouTube channel as well as in the Facebook group. So if you're not in the group, make sure to search for Nerd and Bird and we will drop it. Give me about a day or two and we'll put it in there. And as always, we will see you next month. Thanks, Denise.
Thanks. Deborah, I want to take a picture of this before you remove it.
Y'all feel free to take a photo too and tag us if you want.
My girl Pam Thorne, Pam and I used to work together.
Are you doing your photo or what?
I'm taking a picture of some of these comments and I'm going to tag you, sweet cheeks.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
What's your day look like after this?
Kid stuff. Lots of, okay. Yeah.
The dentist. My teeth are so sore. Okay. I'm excited.
Yes.
All right. Call you later.
Okay, bye. Oh, I could so talk about Denise now. This should be like spilling the tea after the Nerd and Bird, where it's the Bird, maybe VIP or after hours call. And I could just dish on Denise and she probably would never know because she probably never watches these back. So Kara, Lisa, I just realized what power I had. I have to go pick up my kid from a camp, but you better believe this may be our new thing after the Nerd and Bird webinars. Because I don't really get to say a whole lot. I feel like I'm the one managing the comments. This is great, guys. I'm trying to think, what tea could I spill? I am going to her house next week for 4th of July. Is there anything you guys would want to know? Some deep twin secrets, and we'll see how long it takes until she notices. This is so great. I love that y'all are in it with me. Okay. I just really appreciate you guys playing all in today too. I know when we ask questions and you put yourself out there on your numbers and tracking, and that's scary and vulnerable. And so I just want you guys to know how proud I am of what you guys are doing in your vulnerability. And even if it's just admitting and becoming aware, like, I don't have a plan. So maybe I'm planning to fail because I don't have a plan. The first step in all of this is just awareness. And so you wouldn't have maybe been exposed to that if you didn't take action to register and be on today's webinar. So that is a form of accountability for yourself, that even if it's once a month, I know it's not paid coaching, it's basically free coaching. There's a lot of people who are pitching coaching programs right now, and this may just be the sweet spot of what you need to show up every month, the last Thursday, to discover maybe some things that are blind spots for you. But give yourself a pat on the back for at least showing up today, because you can't win if you don't show up. And remember, it's not always because a lot of times it's always amazes me when people go to events to learn things. And I'm like, did you learn anything new? And it's not that we usually need to learn new things. It's just we need to do what we already know we should be doing and like really address at the core of why we're not doing it. For me personally, when I was originating, it's not that I was fearful of making the calls. I was fearful of the success that I would receive from the calls I was making to partners, where I didn't feel like my team had the capacity, because I wasn't trusting in the assistants and loan partners that we had. A lot of them were shared at the time because I wasn't performing at a level to have my own. And sometimes having shared assistants, especially if it's with the manager, you get what's left. And so I was fearful of getting more business and disappointing people, to be perfectly honest. It was like, I almost would get nervous every app I would get of, can we please, for the love of God, just wow this person and not disappoint them and forget something, because then you're starting all over again. And we know how important reputation is. So that was my aha back in the day. Oh, David. Yes. Oh, thank you for that little plug. It is social media day on the 30th. So I would love any of you, if I help you in any way or make an impact, make sure you tag me or tag Plug and Play SM on Saturday's post. I would love it. Today is actually NBA draft day and sunglasses day. Okay. Oh, Kara, you guys, we're just going to have to do this more often. I just love it. All right. Y'all take care.